These ayats, verses of the Quran are from Surah Hadid, verses 20 to 21. These verses, they actually describe the reality of this worldly life, and they explain that how this worldly life is so unreliable. A person cannot rely on this worldly life, on whatever it contains. The ayat depicts the involvement of being that how a person happily, cheerfully, he enjoys from the contents of this worldly life right till his death, until the person dies. And the ayat also summarizes these involvements in the same order as they occur in a person's life. So the first thing that has been mentioned in the ayat of the Quran is la'ib, which means play. And we all know that when a child is born and it is early ages and early stages of a child, every child wants to play with toys. He wants to enjoy playing about, and then at a certain age when he starts walking and he starts running and he wants to play outside. So the first thing that's been mentioned is la'ib, play. And then the ayat moves on to say lahu, innamal hayatu dunya la'ib wa lahu. That's lahu means amusement. At a certain age, a person then likes to amuse himself. He likes to enjoy himself in amusing himself. And then it comes to a stage where a person, wazina, Quran says, show of beauty. And then takathur, tafakhur. Tafakhur means exchange of boastful claims. At a certain stage of his life, after he passes the age of maybe 14 to 15 or 16, a certain age then comes on a person, he likes to boast about what he's achieved so far. You know, I've achieved so far. I've made so many property. I've made so many assets. I'm a landlord. I've got many, maybe last year or so before that, I met somebody who said, Maulana, I've got 99 properties. I'm a landlord. I've got 99. Alhamdulillah, I've worked very hard. So these boastful claims, the Quran says, wazina, wa tafakhur. It means exchange of boastful claims. We sit with each other with our companions, our friend circle, and he says, I've achieved so much, I've done this so much, I've made so much, boastful claims. Takathur, then competition of increase in this wealth, in these children, family, these things occur. So when a person goes through these particular phases of life, he feels satisfied. Each phase a person goes through, he feels that this stage is the stage which is going to stay here, and this satisfies me. And when this phase is over, then we realize how absurd it was. Like for example, a child is most fascinated at a certain age with his toys. But the same child, when he reaches the age of 18, 20, 25, and you say, look, these are your toys, which used to take him so serious, and he wouldn't even let anybody touch these toys of yours. Here you are, play with them. He said, well, it was a time which I took these toys as to be serious, and I was very satisfied with that phase of my life, but that's over. I've got nothing to do with my toys. It seems that how absurd it was to play with these kind of plastic toys. So that phase is over. And if somebody was to snatch his toys away, he was ready to confront them. It was so serious. That phase of life was so serious. The same thing happens in one's youth when he is attracted by the beauties and the fancies of this life. Maybe it may be clothes, it may be new fashionable things, it might be the new technical or new technology, invented devices. It could be many things. It could be his own appearance, how he appears in front of the people. I know people who would not even come out of the house until they've spent about 2 hours in front of the mirror. So these things, in a certain stage of life, they become so serious for a person, and then comes the old age. A person then gathers wealth, goods, investments. These things then they dominate a person's life. So the Quran in this ayat, in specific ayat of Surah Hadid, the verses 20 to 21, reminds a person that, you know what, like those early phases of your life when you were a child, those have passed away, and then you came to an age and a phase of your life when you went back and thought of that phase of your life, and if somebody reminded you and you thought how absurd it was, that I was so immature and I was in a bubble of my life, which I was, taking these toys to be so serious that if somebody would snatch these toys away from me, I was ready to, confront them. I was ready to be very aggressive towards these people. The Quran reminds that, this phase of your life which you are in now, which is your age of maturity, and where you understand the right and wrong, the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and what the cost is to be disobedient towards the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And now you are taking the beauties and the fancies and the wealth and the investment and the assets of this worldly life so serious. The reality is that this phase is also going to pass away. This is reminding us. And the next stage after your old age, is much, much, much serious, which is the barzakh. Barzakh means grave. followed by the day of resurrection, the day of Qiyamah. So the ayat reminds us that we need to think about those stages or phases of life, because they are really eternal. Those stages of life, which is barzakh, the life, the long amount of duration, the time we are going to spend in barzakh, grave, before the day of resurrection. And then the day of resurrection, the day of Qiyamah, which the Quran says, Khamsina alfa sana. The one day is equivalent Khamsina, 50,000 years, day of Qiyamah, day of resurrection. And before that, there is a life of barzakh, which is the life of grave. You don't know, thousands of years. Thousands and thousands of years before we get to the day of resurrection. So these stages are eternal, and they are going to come upon you, and there is no end. So the Quran says, "I'lamu." Now the translation is, "I'lamu annama al-hayatu ad-dunya la'ibun wa lahu." You should know that the worldly life is but a play, and an amusement. As a child grows up, amusement, a show of beauty, wazina, show of beauty, watafakhur, exchange of boastful claims between yourselves, bainakum, watakathurun fil amwali wal awlad, competition of increase in wealth, in children. And now the Quran gives another explanation that this all that's just been explained to you, the example is كَمَثَلِ غَيْثٍ أَعْجَبَ الْكُفَّارَ نَبَاتُهُ. It's like a rain. Ghais, like a rain. It's like that green vegetation which attracts the farmers, and then it withers, it goes away, fades away. You see it turns yellow, it becomes a straw. Such a beautiful greenery which attracts people, attracts the farmers. And then what happens? It suddenly starts fading away. It loses its color, it loses its strength, and fades away, becomes scattered, and it turns into dust. The same example is of a person's own life. A person's life, he starts off by a child born, young, healthy, strong, youthful, handsome, beautiful. Gradually, as the stages pass, days pass, weeks pass, months then change into years. And we know, before we even know it, we start to gradually become old and old. And sometimes if we sit with our elders, and they relate to us their own stories when they were young, our mothers and fathers, our uncles, who have passed the age of 60, 70 or 80, and we sit with them and they relate to us stories of their young days. And you know what they say? A phrase they use, they say, it seems like it was yesterday. It seems like it was yesterday. ऐसा लगता है कि कल की बात है. It's passed so quickly. This is what the Quran is referring to. So, old age overcomes. And this takes away all the freshness, all the beauty, all the strength. We always come across our elders, our buzurg. We see them at the old age. The eyesight is weak, the strength goes away. It's even difficult, never mind running, it's even difficult to walk. It's difficult to sit for a long time. All these problems, all the difficulties, they start overcoming a person who was once upon a time young, healthy, strong, running about, working for 8 to 12 hours a day. But now this person can't even sit for more than 1 hour. He can't hear properly. He stutters when he speaks. So this is what's happening. So the parable is like that greenery, that fresh green grass, those fresh green crops which beautify the farmers, which they see, oh, now we're going to cultivate this, but suddenly what happens? It starts going yellow, and it starts losing its beauty, it starts losing its freshness, and then those change into particles of dust. So it's also this ayat, or if I say the parable, indicates the end of this life. Indicates the end of this life. This is how you end. This is how you start, and this is how the spiral goes down. That is how it ends. While in contrast, the life of hereafter is surely to come. The significance of that life of hereafter is then given. وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ عَذَابٌ شَدِيدٌ وَمَغْفِرَةٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرِضْوَانٌ. And then the hereafter, there is a severe punishment for the disobedient, severe punishment for the disbelievers, who only took this life, which is temporary life, so serious that they forgot the life of hereafter, the eternal life. They took this life so serious, the life which was only for the 70 to 80, or maybe for a very low percentage up to 90 or 100. These people took this temporary life so serious that they forgot the severity of the life which is eternal, which was forever and ever. So, فِي الْآخِرَةِ عَذَابٌ شَدِيدٌ. There is a severe punishment for these people. وَمَغْفِرَةٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرِضْوَانٌ. On the other side, there is forgiveness and Allah's pleasure for those people who actually believed, and were very reasonable and were very sensible to understand the fact that, everything here is not so serious that we are taking it and we are forgetting the life of hereafter. And Instead, we are disbelieving and going against the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I cannot even be bothered to pray 5 times namaz. 5 times salat I don't have it in my life. Why? Because I've taken the life of this temporary life so serious that I've forgotten that how serious it is going to be once my book of deeds has been opened and there is no Fajr Salah, there is no Zohar Salah, there is no Asr Salah, there is no Maghrib Salah, there is no Isha Salah. That's why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam statement has made by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam in a hadith that person who deliberately leaves one farz salah is like that person who has lost everything in this world. He's lost his children, family, he's lost his assets, he's lost all his wealth and everything. We call that person, in this modern terminology, we call that person bankrupt. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying that person who's left one farz salah is like a bankrupt person कि सारा उसका जान माल सारी चीज उससे ले ली गई. उसको bankrupt कहते हैं. उसको उर्दू में कहते हैं दिवालिया. दिवालिया हो गया. Bankrupt. One farz namaz. My brothers, my sisters, it is very, very serious matter. This life of ours is going to end before we even know it. इस जिंदगी में ऐसा वक्त आएगा कि एक दिन हम सूरज उस दिन का तुलू होता हुआ देखेंगे, लेकिन हमारी जिंदगी की शाम नहीं होगी, शाम कब्र में होगी. और शाम फैमिली के साथ होगी, हंसी खुशी होगी, लेकिन सुबह कब्र में होगी. And we see these examples throughout in our life. We experience these things. How many deceased persons from our loved ones have we lifted upon our shoulders, and with our own hands we buried them in the grave. Young and old, very intelligent people, very wealthy people, they have left this world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends small wake-up calls, alarms which come. Most of us here belong to a certain party and region in Pakistan. Look what happened just a few days ago. Look what happened. It's a wake-up calls. These are wake-up calls. Look what happens. Many of us have close and very strong connection with that person. I'm talking about Mirpur, Azad Kashmir. I'm talking about. Look what happened. Very sad. It's very moving. We've all been affected. That part of life, we've all been affected. I've just received, on my WhatsApp from clips of friends, family over there. They're showing me massive cracks in the buildings. Massive cracks. And these people are vulnerable now. All city of Mirpur is like, there's many cracks all over the place. New built buildings where people have spent thousands, hundreds and thousands of rupees. It's a wake-up call. Look what happening to next door, to our Kashmir, the other Kashmir. Look at them, those people. It's a wake-up call. Look at those people who are in siege. It's been maybe 55 days now. Nobody knows what's happening to those people, to our brothers and sisters, the occupied Kashmir. I hope our Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, is going to do a lecture today, going to give a speech in the UN. I hope the world wakes up and does something for these oppressed people. Otherwise, this matter is going to go very, very serious. We should all make dua. We should make dua for the people of Azad Kashmir, what they're going to through, especially the region of Mirpur and what's happened, in those villages around. People have lost everything. Some people have lost everything. So one thing is we should make dua. We need to wake up. We need to be more attentive towards the Quran and Hadith, more serious towards the life of Akhirat, more to coming towards the masjid, much more particular are our first namaz. Everybody should make an intention. I should not ever miss any first namaz. And even discuss, consult the scholars. How can I, what these namazes I've left in my life of maybe 20 years or 30 years, I was not able to pray. How can I, compensate for the namaz? What can I do? Consult the ulama, consult the scholars. And from today we should make intention to make a turning point in our lives. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability tawfiq that we act upon what has been said today. Akhiru da'wan, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Just a few announcements. As you know that alhamdulillah, our masjid, all masjids alhamdulillah are run by the donations of our Muslim brothers, sisters. And mashallah, you brothers, sisters have always donated towards the Makki Masjid. Your generous donations is what we are seeing now. So mashallah, there are methods of donating. You can donate by, the bucket goes round now from the masjid. You can donate straight away. You can also now donate on our online, on our website, which is www.makkimosheffieldcom/donate. So you can go on the website and you can donate from there.